So next we're going to move the faces. And I can move the faces once again by right click and selecting face. Now if I double click on the move tool, I'm going to get a bunch of different settings here, including the ability to turn on symmetry if I just wanted to work on one side and have the other side be symmetrical. I'm not going to do that right now. And this is what I was talking about before, is that you could change it to world and object. So this would align the points just with the object. This would align it with the world. I find just to make sure you're keeping it fairly symmetrical, world's a good place to start, and then there will be sometimes we turn on object scaling a little bit. But if anything looks really weird, you can go through these options as world and object. We'll go over what the other ones are in later lessons potentially. So I'm going to click off this shape and I want the top ones. I can hold Shift to do a plus select. I can also, because as you notice, I got this extrude icon, so that's our spoiler alert. I can also do something where I just drag select the top and hold Control on my keyboard. That gets me in a minus mode. So I can then drag the ones I don't want. So you can either click each one individually, holding the Shift key, and that's going to go into plus minus mode. In fact, if I have Shift on and I click something else, it'll select and deselect it. Or I can do that Control, where I drag select, and then I hit Control, and that will always be a minus mode. Now at this point, some people ask, okay, is there a way to do an always plus mode? Yes. That's if you hold Shift and Control on your keyboard at the same time while you're selecting. That will make it go into an always plus mode. No matter how much I click this, it will keep going plus. And so for the third time, I will go ahead and select the top and then Control select the bottom so it's deselected. There's a couple different ways you can do what we need to next, which is called an extrude. You can go to this Show Hide Tool Settings. And just make sure you have kind of all your settings correct. Because if you don't, if you leave it on world, it'll make this extrude pretty easy. And then you can hold Shift on your keyboard, and with a move tool selected, you can just drag and extrude up. And then after that, you can scale it either by selecting the scale tool or remember hitting R on your keyboard and scale it in a little. And I drag up to the armpits. I can scale this in a little. I can also go back to that vertice mode, select whichever vertices I need to, and move them. I find it's helpful if that inside vertice aligns with the arm, because then I can extrude the arm off of it. The other thing I can do is I can click on this modeling toolkit. I would go back to face, and the same thing, I could hit extrude here. And then I get a menu that lets me drag, select it. I can change these offsets. That'll shrink it in or out too. Just don't want to do too much. So if you do, you get a normal flip. Because remember, these aren't solid objects, so you can actually drag it so that it intersects itself. And once it's black, most 3D objects only have one side that it's rendering, one existing side. So if we were to like have a cut on our arm, we would see blood and what's underneath. And if we cut this open, you would just see black. And you would just see black because black is its way of showing it doesn't exist. And if you had to render the inside and the outside of an object, it would double the processing time, whether it's a video game or an animation. It'd either double the render time or double how much it had to render in real time for something that the player or the viewer will never see. So really only one side of a 3D object has visibility, the other half is transparent. If I hit extrude, extrude, okay, let's extrude again. And then I raise this up. When I look in this object, let's see if I manage to do it. zoom in. Yeah, see? I have these extra areas right here. And then that can create a lot of issues later on if we make the object, like if we smooth it or we have to cut it. So when you get these double extrudes, it can create a lot of problems. And remember, once again, to get to smooth mode, it's 3. To get to not smooth mode, it's 1. So I'm going to undo that a couple times. And in case you haven't noticed, I tend to prefer the move tool method. You can do whichever one you want, but we're just going to hurry up and block out this body, and then we'll get the head. Oh, so let me grab my vertices. Get my move tool, move them out. Then I go back to my face mode. I drag select my face. So I'll shift extrude up to here. You almost always want to leave a collarbone, kind of that clavicle. I see a lot of students who think that they should just extrude all the way up to the neck, and that tends to not work very well. Now on this particular drawing, I did not define that very well. So you can just drag to kind of about the shoulder. I'm also going to grab these vertexes right here and make that a smoother transition so that the arm can come off of it. And then you're just going to extrude this up until you get to the top. So then you're just going to extrude this up to the neck. And that's how you do the top of it.